my stream. Okay. I am not sure when this is going to pick me up, so I'm going to start talking, and then I'm going to request that you say that you can hear me in the chat so that we can make sure that everything is going according to goodness. Oh, I just got a little pop-up that says now would be a great time to insert ads. How about Hot Pockets? So the thing about, I didn't like the ham ones, I'll tell you that. Okay. I just want to make sure everything was running smoothly. If you would like access to the chat, you can pop over to the link at the top of the video, and that'll get you over there. Otherwise, you can just hang out and we'll play. And this is the first time that I'm streaming to Circle, and it seems to be working a-okay, so I'm into it. All right, you guys, I'm very excited because we are going to jump in. I'm kind of doing like a mini celebration before we jump into Procreate Bootcamp tomorrow morning. And some of you are coming to that and some of you are not. And either way, it's going to be a lot of fun, but we're going to have fun right now regardless. And I want to have fun with everyone. So I wanted to make sure that everyone got a chance to play. I am sending myself. I don't know if any of you do Zoom, but if I try to join from my phone, it wants to reclaim host, and then it's all weird. So I have to send myself text message invitations to join with my phone. It's cute. All right, so today your iPad should be charged. That'll be helpful. It'll also be helpful to have, I have the chat open, cool. You don't need any special brushes for this. You just need what Procreate has given us. Okay. There we go. Join. Really good angle. Admit myself. I shouldn't be allowed to do tech. Everybody knows this. There we go. Got it. Got it. Video and switcheroo. Okay, so we're going to work on a canvas size of about, you can work on whatever canvas size you want. I know that I'll just preface by saying that canvas sizes can be tricky because it depends a lot on how, there we go, there, on the size of your iPad. So if you want something really big and you're like, oh, well, I can't get a canvas size that big, it's probably the storage size on your iPad, which is frustrating, but it's not the end of the world because I actually was able to create an entire book off of just like a 16 gig go. And I almost did too. And then storage got full. So you really don't need a crazy amount of storage. So I'm just going to start at something. I just kind of think, okay, well, if I'm ever, I don't know if I'm ever going to want to print something like, so what if I do, and I made it too small or too pixelated, there's not really a way I can save that. So I like to just go with like 12 by 16, 300 DPI. I know that some people know this already, but I am such an information sharer. So I'm going to try to like go pretty quickly over this stuff, but I am going to insert little things here and there about how you can most effectively use the platform if you don't know what to do. So just real quick, to create a new canvas, you're going to go to the plus sign in your gallery. You're going to, I'm going to actually spotlight this so that you can see just what I'm doing. Before that, before I take my face away, for those who are joining and don't know me, hello, thank you for joining. My name is Peggy, and I just like to have fun with everybody and do art and facilitate all of those things for all of you. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. Okay, so let's see. Is it not going to let me do this? Sure isn't, is it? If I pin it, will that work? I'm not going to know because there's like a 40-second lag, but I'm going to try. Hide non-video participants, and then if I turn my video off, boom, boom, no matter what, we're going to try. Okay, so basically, you're in to create a new canvas, and I'm going to turn this light off to avoid this glare. It kind of helped. I'm going to do this one too, maybe. Maybe not. That's a little bit better. It's going to be really dark when I bring my face back, but it's a little bit, it's a little bit better. Man, where's that glare coming from? There we go. Okay. I know you see a little bit of a ring, but you won't as we get into, as we get in, because I'll have this be, it'll be a lot brighter. So interface stuff, like you guys saw that I did, oh, you can't see anything. I'm so sorry. I just went through all of that. It's okay because you didn't actually miss anything at all. So that's good. All you have is me just stumbling in the dark. Oh my gosh. Thank you for speaking up in the chat. Okay. Well, I'm back and I'm just going to wait to see that my screen is back with both me and the iPad. How frustrating, eh? Okay, screen, there we go. Okay, it's coming up. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure why that's happening, but I'm kind of tempted to reclaim host as my phone so that I can just fully remove my face. Are we cool with that? Moonlighting. I just feel like that would be more helpful to see the entire iPad, and it won't let me spotlight it unless I do that. And you know what? I want you guys to see what is happening here. So switch. Hopefully you'll hear me well, connecting, ironing out the tweaks. Okay. There we go. What do you see? I see something different than you see. Okay. Hopefully this is working. I officially am not on my computer anymore. So I've never done this way before. So let's hope that everything is gonna go swell. Oh yeah, that is. So we can see more detail on iPad. Okay, cool. All right, let's try this again, shall we? All right, so to create a new canvas, we are going to go into, I'll do this one more time. Just our main gallery area. We're going to go to the plus sign. We're going to pick something. Just a quick tip, because I love giving quick tips. I love doing this in a way that is organized. So I tend to create a new canvas, plug in the size I want. Inches is easy for me because I just know. So I'll say 12 by 16. Some of you don't work in inches, and that'll, work with what makes sense for you. And then I'll go DPI. I like to have it at 300. The standard Procreate screen size is not 300. So that's why I always recommend creating your own. And then you'll see you have a maximum of a certain amount of layers. So this is showing me I only have 27 layers, which is not a ton. If you work in a lot of layers, I mean, it seems like a ton, but once you get into it, it's not as much as you might think. But anyway, that's how I would do that. But then you'll see it says untitled up here. It doesn't look clickable, but it is. If you forget to do that here and you press create, you can always rename it after it's there. So I'll just do that. And then it opens this up. But if I go back to gallery, I'll find it at the very bottom. That's the last one I made. It'll say untitled canvas, and it just opens when I click it. But if I go down and I swipe to the left, I can say edit. That's where I can rename this canvas. And so what I like to do is say 12 by 16, 300. And that's how I know exactly what the size is for future reference. And then I'll save it, and then you'll see here. And then I can drag that where I want it to be. And I like to do it in order of size. So you can see that it's sandwiched in between 12 and 16 and whatnot. So that's what I'm going to be working in. I feel like I'm going to regret it because I feel like I'm not going to have enough layers, which is going to be annoying. But, what are you going to do? I'm also going to turn this. So quick tip, these are going to be really fast, quick tips because, that's what I was going to say before all the sound was all off. I did a full mini course for everybody that you all have access to. And if you haven't yet, just email us and we'll make sure that you get that access that goes over all the gestures and all the setup and everything, because I just want to draw along with everyone today. It's fun. Okay, so from here, Just a quick note that reminded me because I was rotating my canvas. When you rotate your canvas and then let it go, it's going to reorientate, sure, to the new horizontal versus vertical. So that's kind of cool. All right, so what are we going to do today? We are going to create a cluster, 2 to 3 mushrooms. So one of the easiest ways to do this is, to open a guide, a visual, if you will. So if I open Pinterest and I look up mushroom, I don't know. Okay, we actually do see pictures, which is fantastic. So these are great references. When you can pull up references, you could use Google image search, whatever. I'm not going to pull any of these into my canvas. I'm just using them to eyeball them. If you want to use split screen, which I love doing, you're just going to, you can do this from Procreate or you can do it from the new program that you're in. Just make sure they're both open. So when you pull up on your dock, not all the way, you just swipe it up slightly. I see Procreate here, so I'm going to hold that and I'm going to drag it over to the side and release. And that's going to give me split screen. And then I can move it over. So in the middle, there's a little bar. I can move it over to adjust it into thirds so that that's over there, out of my way, and then Procreate's here. One last thing before we get started, you can also have it float inside of Procreate by bringing it and having it float like this. And then it's inside the program, so you have access to the whole interface, but it's in the way of stuff, which is why I like to do split screen. Quick tips, love a quick tip. Okay, so I'm gonna look at these and I'm just gonna sketch first. So when I sketch, I like to grab like a neutral color. No, that's not true. I actually like to grab blues and reds because it's usually really off from what my final result is going to be. And so I think that I want to go with blue because I think I want to do more of like reddish, pinkish mushrooms, maybe. We'll see. And then I just grab I'm going to go all the way. So yours is going to look different than mine. Oh, that was something somebody wanted me to share with them. Brush organization. Happy to. This is totally like the best thing ever. So do you see how it says pigeon right here? Whoops. And then it's a folder icon. And then if I keep going down, I have Lisa, I have Bardo, it's Lisa Bardo, I have Shoutbound, they're all in folders. These aren't actually folders. If I click on it, there's nothing inside of it. It's just that I put it there so that everything underneath it is a set by that person. So you could do this any way that you want to as far as organization. It doesn't have to be by like who it's by or whatever, but it's just like my pigeon ones. And this is if you create your own brushes. I do where I put all the ones I'm currently working on in that folder. I know there's a lot in here, but then my finished sets are just underneath that. And then so on. So really easy way to organize your brushes and you will love it. Now, in Procreate, there's a section called sketching. There's a 6B pencil. That is all we're going to need to sketch. I mean, you can use anything, but I just love using a 6B. I like the way that it has like this kind of, I mean, it looks like a pencil. So I love that. So I'm going to, I think I will go this. Oh gosh, I'm having a hard time making decisions. Okay, so we're going to just sketch mushrooms and see how this goes. These do not have to look anything like them. You don't need to know how to draw because everything is editable. So this one's a great example. It's a simple stitch. You can't zoom on Pinterest. So let's see what this opens us to so we can zoom if we want to. It doesn't want us to. Oh yeah. Haha. So if you need to see details or anything, you can do that. Get out of here. Pop-ups. Okay. So I'm going to make a creative decision right off the bat, and I'm not going to do a straight edge. I'm going to curve it just slightly downward like this. I'm going to do this darker than I normally would so that you can see it better. And then I'm going to actually also get my brightness a lot higher. That's probably helpful, eh? Maybe not, but hopefully. Okay, so I'm just going to sketch, like it's basically a triangle shape, and then I curve that out. And I don't care if it's proportionate at all. I'm just using it as a reference. I'm gonna get rid of it. I'm not trying to do something that is photographic at all. And then I'm going to create the stem. So I'll just do the basic shape of that, round the bottom, and then create this little friend coming off of it. And that's all that I can see right here. Okay, so there we go. We have a quick sketch of a mushroom. And I'm gonna go in and look at a different one now. Pinterest is nice because, I mean, Google Images does this too, but basically whatever you click on, if you keep going, it shows you similar items, which is helpful. I want to really encourage you not to use illustrations as reference, because there's nothing like having it come from your own brain. I mean, it's nice for style, like studies and whatnot, but just when you're actually drawing, just try to avoid that and you will be happier with your work. Just trust. Okay, so I feel like, I mean, these look all pretty similar. So we'll go here and just kind of, yeah, I mean, I think I'm just going to wing it. So I want a couple different sizes. I think I want to do a trio. So I have my main one, and then I want one to kind of be tilted. So I'll see how I can do that without it running into the corner, because I don't really like when like it can overlap. I just don't want it to be like, you know, corner to corner. And then I'll have, I think I will have this kind of curving out like this. And then I don't want this to sit at the same plane. So I might have it actually be here. So see, it's a messy process. Like it's not pretty. So don't think that your process is wrong by any means. And if anything is too distracting, just go to your eraser and get rid of it. If you're on a weird eraser and you're like, oh, I don't want to have to go and find my brush that I'm using to do this. Another quick tip is, so let's just say I'm on one that is not what I want. This one. Okay, so this is going to erase weird. As long as you're on the brush that you're going to want to use on the other brush, you got to make sure that you're on that one. So if I was already on eraser, it wouldn't work. But since I'm on my main brushes, I can go to the eraser and just hold down and see how it says erase with current brush. That just changed my brush to the 6B pencil. So cool, neat trick. If you didn't know, very helpful in your workflow. Gosh, now that I'm at this point, I almost don't want to do a third. I'm going to though. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do kind of a baby. So another little cone. And I would flip it up and do like what are they called? Are they gills? I would do that, but I'm not going to, just for the sake of time, because we're going to get more and more detailed as we go. And I want to be able to focus on that instead of focusing on like all those little nuances. Real quick, instead of erasing all of this, I like the shape. I like what's happening, but I want to move it. So I'm just going to go to my selection tool up here on the top left. It looks like a little ribbon, like a little S. And I'm going to just go around the edges of the one I just drew. And then I'm going to tap the arrow, and then I can just move that. And it doesn't matter because this is just my draft. And so anything that I do is going to be covered up anyway. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit to add a little bit of depth. All right, how's everybody doing so far? Can you hear and see everything okay? I just want to make sure, because the chat's been quiet for a minute. I'm going to assume it's because we're doing a work along, but just in case, just make sure. And okay, so I'm going to have a little delay, so I'll just keep going and then I'll check. I'm going to get rid of my split screen. Well, actually, you can use, let's do this. I'll use this one as an example, just for the sake of looking at color. So I know I said I don't want this to be realistic, and I sure don't. Ugh, I know I don't want to do that. I just want to picture the mushroom. And I know I don't want it to be super realistic, but I do want to use the main color as just a reference point. So if I look at this, I'm not seeing just solid red. I mean, I am, but I'm seeing a lighter red here, a darker red here. And if you really look at the hues and tones and whatnot, you're going to see like this one's a little more orangey, right here is a little more purpley. So how can I apply that into what would be flat color? Super easy. So we're going to do that. I'm going to get rid of that split screen, and we're just going to do this and run into it as I'm going to I'm sorry, I'm gonna turn this light on actually because I feel like I just don't want, you know how sometimes the camera will get pixelated if you don't have enough light. And now that you don't have the glare, okay, that should be a little bit better. Cool. This is what happens when I try to do a 5 p.m. during the winter living in Oregon. Everything's so dark. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a new layer to get my color in. So new layer. So that means that anything I do to this next layer won't affect the one beneath it. And I can go over it and just use this one as a reference and then get rid of it or turn it off when I'm done. So I'm going to choose a color now, and I'm going to select a red of any kind. So you're going to see your color interface here. And if you go over to the red, you can drag this little guy around to find the perfect hue that you want. If I pinch that open, I can find it even more meticulously, which I don't think I've never really spent time doing that, but you can. So I also, one of the things I like to do, you may or may not have this history bar. I remember when they first introduced it, it wasn't supported in minis, iPad minis. So that was annoying for when I was like, oh, just refer to your history. So you can just create a new palette. So to go to palettes, just click the plus symbol, create a new palette, and then it'll automatically select it as the main one. So when you go back to your disk, it'll be the one down here. And to drop a color in, you can just tap it. And that will help you if you like, okay, I love this color, I don't want to lose it in this project, just make that project palette, which is helpful. Okay, I'm going to stick with my 6B pencil to actually create this because I like the texture on the edges. So if I do like a bold color, see how it just creates those pretty edges? I love that so much. If you want something cleaner, you could go with like the hard airbrush or even the monoline. And I'm just going to go over the areas that I just made. For the sake of time, I'm going to do a color drop. However, if you love that texture, if you color something in, you'll keep texture. I'm going to show you tricks on how I do texture instead. The reason I don't like to do it this way is because that is transparent. What I mean by that is the backside, the white that is showing through, is its own layer. If I turn that off, this is transparent. So if I was to like love this design so much, I finish it, everything's great. If I don't have something backing up this red, if I wanted to put this on like a black shirt, it would look really, really faded instead of that cool texture effect. So like if I had drawn, you know, a white shape behind this and then colored it in, no problem. But I just wanted you to know, like, that's kind of how brushes work so that you don't have to run into that issue. Just avoiding the pain point of that, because that's happened to timer 19. So when you have your outline, you can just go to your color area and drag it into where you want it to be and then release it and it will fill. If you run into this problem here, either it fills too much all over everything or it doesn't fill enough because there's this line here you can see, that means that there is a color drop threshold here that is not turned up enough or turned up too much. So all you have to do is drag, and before you release, just drag it all the way up. So I ran out of space there. I'm just going to undo, and it's going to remember where I just left off. So see, now it's up here at 80 and I need to go the rest of the way. 100% fills everything. So if I just tap it just underneath that at 98, 99, it fills. So that's a little trick. And when you end up color dropping more, you're going to start to get into the rhythm of pulling and then holding to see where we're at and then adjust. It's just what we do. Okay. I'm going to do a new layer now because I want 3 different cap colors and they're just going to vary slightly. And I know that that's unnecessary, but I like to do everything that's really unnecessary. And I want this to be behind this one. So what I'll end up doing is just drawing the main shape right now and then color dropping. Nope. That is because there is, when that happens and you know that everything is closed, it's usually because of a textured brush like this, and it's escaping through those transparent pigment, transparent areas. So then I can pull it down, but then you can see this is happening. So it's just something to be aware of when you use textured brushes as edges. So you can just kind of reinforce it like this, and then it should be good, but you might have a little white outline to go over. For me, it's like a necessary thing that I am very happy to work through for that textured edge. Really interesting, the things we sacrifice in our workflows, but I just want to educate you on what can happen so that you can also be aware. Now I want to drag this underneath so that it's behind. So basically I go to the top layer, because the top layer is whatever is on top, and then I'm going to pull it, hover and pull it underneath and drop it, and it drops behind there, and now this is in front again. So I'm going to lastly do this one. I'll just do it in the same color as this. I won't, ideally that would be its own layer, but I'm going to assume that not everybody has a ton of layers to work with. So I'm going to go back to the dark layer. I'm going to use the same color and just do it to this one. Stephanie, I'm using 6B, the 6B pencil. It's under sketching in just the main Procreate pack. I just love the texture of the edges. And then I'll drop a color in here, smooth out anything real quick. Okay. Now I'm going to do the stems. You know, I actually pulled up before our call, I'm gonna find it. I pulled up the anatomy of a mushroom so that I wouldn't have to keep saying, you know, this thing or this thing, this little guy. Where did I put it? I have too many tabs open. I probably closed it, so I can't do it, but somebody in here knows better than I do. So I'm sorry in advance for saying, you know, this part of the stem instead of what it's called. I'm going to go to my bottom layer here, and I'm just going to, the reason why is because when I press plus, anytime you press plus to add a layer, it's going to add it above the layer that you're selected, that you're on. So that means that I didn't have to drag it below. I don't know what it is about me in Procreate, but holding and dragging just, I don't know. I know that I just have to, I think I'm just not patient enough for it to like, hold on. So I'd rather do it that way. I'm going to find a real nice neutral. So I like to go up into like the orangey area and then come over to the left in the circle and get pretty light. It's like you think you're almost at the white point, but then you can see it's a lot darker than you'd expect, but I do want some more color in that. So this one will work. All right, so now I'm going to just create a basic stem shape that traces over this general area. I'll color it in. This particular brush is also pressure sensitive. So if I press down, it will be more opaque and it won't allow as much. Oh, I want to do this last one on its own layer. So I'm going to go one more layer and then slightly vary the color. Whatever I was just saying, but I wanted to share another tip real quick, which is two things. So the first, we're going to do a masking technique, and we're going to do a oops, I forgot to put my colors in my palette as I went technique. And this is how it works. That one, so you can see that I totally made the mistake of not continuing to add the colors. No big deal, because you can just use your finger and hover. And as you press down, it will select and grab whatever color you're on. So then you just release and you're on that color again. So for this red, I didn't add it. So I go back in and add it. I can hold this down, add that in, hold this down, add that in. Okay. And then the other one is I want this mushroom to be in, like, let's say I want this mushroom to be in front of this mushroom. No, other way around. This one in front of this one. But you can see that I drew this stem just straight over this one. And maybe I don't want to erase that. Maybe I want to keep it because I don't really know if I for sure want to get rid of that or how I want to rearrange it later. So I'm a big fan of working indestructibly. And to do that, it just means instead of erasing it, I can maintain all these pigments and just hide them. And to do, that's what masking is. And that's what really trips a lot of people up.
So if I go to this layer here, which is my main stem layer, I want to hide just this part. So I'm just going to tap that layer and select mask. So quick rule of thumb, it's going to change the color to black. And that means that anything that I draw over will hide. It will make it disappear. And then if I paint it with white, if I go to the white color, it will reveal it to come back. So basically, see how as I'm going over this, it looks like it's erasing this one, but it's actually just, this is what it looks like. If I turn it off and on, it brings this back, but it'll allow me to get rid of it without damaging the integrity of what I drew first. So that's going to help you in so many ways as you're creating random things. Like I didn't need to do that for this, but why not? Because I don't know if I'm going to want to move these. I might want to. You know, like it could be a matter of finding like this mushroom I might want to move over. So I'll show you another tip. So this stem right here is on this layer, but this part is on this layer. So instead of merging it together and trying to move it all in one, I can just select both of those layers. To do that, I'm on one layer already, and then I just go to the other layer and swipe to the right, and then both of them are selected. But that means that both of these are selected, both these mushrooms. And if I only want to do this one, since I selected both of these already, I can go to my selection tool at the top again. It's going to allow me, if I'm on freehand, I can grab exactly what I want, which is just this mushroom. And then I can take the arrow key, and then that's all that's going to be grabbed on that layer because I selected both, or on both of those layers. So I selected both of them and then selected the actual object. So now I can put that somewhere else if I want it to be, or I can make it smaller. So I kind of like this better. I think it just looks nicer. Although I do like the overlap. Gosh, choices. I think this is kind of fun because it overlaps this part, but then it tucks behind. So maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, so that's fun. Great. I can get rid of my sketch layer now. I don't need it. If you want to keep your sketch layer, you can just toggle it off and it can be there for later. Or if you want to delete it, swipe to the left and say delete. I don't need to keep mine, so I'll get rid of it. Okay, next, I want to make, oh, I guess I could have used my sketch layer for the little, this is why I wanted to have that anatomy up, because I'm like, the little diddly do. I gotta add the little diddly do. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this color and then I'm gonna go slightly lighter. And that's what I do a lot when I want to vary color. So I grab it with, you know, here, and then I go to the color wheel and I move it just lighter and see how that looks. Great. So notice I'm on my own, it's on a separate layer now, and I'm just going to draw that in like so. And I'll do that to this one, and that's a little too light, but that's okay. I'm going to be applying shading so it won't look like it blends in. And you might actually see it more bold than I see it, which would be great. Okay, so this is my flat color. Very basic, kind of boring. So we're going to add a soft color shade. This is probably my favorite thing to do ever. Now I do a lot of texture, and I'm not going to do a lot of texture right now because one of the, I knew Elizabeth, I saw Elizabeth in here. I'm like, she's going to tell me what this is called. The ring. Okay, great. Thank you. What am I saying? I do a lot of texture a lot when I do shading. Not everybody's into a ton of texture. So I'm going to show you with both. We're going to do an airbrush and then we'll do texture. You're going to find airbrushes under Procreate. Mine are at the very bottom and they're in a different order than what you'll see. And I just did that for my personal preference. But under your regular Procreate brushes, they are under airbrushing. And then you can grab, I'm just going to grab a soft brush, and then I'm going to make it very, like, pretty smallish. The canvas size that you're using your percentage size is going to be different from mine if you're not using the same canvas size. So like the brushes, they're all made differently, but if you're using the stock one, against a 16 by 20 canvas like I am with 300 DPI, your 10% or whatever will be the same as mine, but otherwise it won't. So just know, like, if you ever watch someone and you're like, why doesn't mine render that way? Or I can't get large enough or small enough or whatever. Know that all that plays a part. Okay. So remember how we were talking about, oh, there's a little orange in this. Oh, there's a little purple in this. That's what we're going to do now. And we're going to do it with shading too. So I'm going to grab the color of this mushroom top here, mushroom cap. And then I'm going to shift it over to get a little more orangey. I'm going to brighten her up a little bit. And then I'm going to see what that looks like. So I'm going to apply, oh wait, before we do anything, I better get the right layer. So I go to that layer that I want to apply this to. I'm going to create a layer on top of it. From there, I'm going to go to that new layer and I'm going to tap it and I'm going to say clipping mask. So what clipping mask will do is everything that I do on this layer will only apply to what's underneath, like what it's clipped to. So you can see there's a little arrow here. It's clipping to this. So if I do this airbrush all over my thing, it's only applying to that part, which is it's like my favorite. It's so easy. So I'm just going to lightly come in to the bottom. I'm not pressing super hard, and you can see how that lightened up just that section. That's how I'm going to start. I'm going to go to the layer below, create a new layer on top of that one, and then clip it to that as well. And I'm going to just do the same thing, just toward the bottom left a little bit and create just a little bit of shading. And it doesn't have to be super smooth. Like, we're going to go over it with more, but then I have kind of a base there. It's hard to see. I'm going to make this bigger, but I'm also really delayed in what I can see on my screen versus where I'm at. So it might be a little different on your side. Okay. If you're doing a bunch of stuff like I just did and nothing's happening, you're probably on the wrong layer. So I'm going to go to the correct one and then be able to work on that. I am going to want to do some shading as well. So, oh, see, it wasn't working because I wasn't on the right layer. That's going to happen. I have a trick for you that I'll share in a minute, but you're going to want to do shading as well. And yes, you could do it on the same layer, but I never like to, because I consider like my highlights and my shadows so different from each other. So I just create another clipping mask. If you want your shadows to be underneath your highlights and you already put your highlights in, the same thing applies when I go to the layer that I want and select a new layer. It will create one on top of the layer that you're on. But because there is a clipping mask right here, it's going to then automatically make this new layer a clipping mask because it's in between those two. So basically everything that is clipped will all be clipped to the first layer that's not, if that makes sense. So another way of doing this, I'll just undo to make it easier. Okay, so I'll select this layer and I'll go on top of this one and create a new layer. So that's not going to clip because there's nothing on top of it that was clipping. And then I can drag it underneath. See, I'm terrible at this dragging. Come on, drag underneath and let go in between there and see it clips. I also don't like to drag because sometimes I'll have it in the wrong spot and it'll group them, or it's just, I don't have the most patience to drag. And so that's why these little tips, like going to the layer that I want it to be applied to, knowing that's already a clipping mask, I can just press the plus and it's going to automatically do it. So you remember when I said, oh, wait, 27 layers might not be enough, even though it sounded like a lot. You can see where we're at already. And this is my workflow. And that's why I'm like, no, I want more. But I want to be mindful because I know not everybody has the same storage if you're working on a large deal. So let me know in the chat if you end up having an issue with you're like maxed out on layers, and I can show you all the workarounds. Yeah, Margaret, no, I work on the wrong layer all the time. You get into your flow and it's too fast. Okay, It will also help you if you're looking at this like, oh gosh, what is going on here? Like maybe it's not super clear that you have these three main objects and like it's not clear. So labeling them, you can just tap the layer and I'll say rename shadows on small ones. Like I know those are the small, so I know shadows on small. Little things like that will help. So you are able to do that and name things and group things even. So if I was to tap this, well, I don't want to do that, but just let's say I wanted to just group this without merging them together, but so they kind of stood on their own. Select multiple layers at the same time like I did before. Whoops, I want to do these three. And then I can say group, and then you can collapse that group and open it, collapse it, open it. So that's also something that can be helpful for me. It's not, so I'm going to undo it and go into grabbing a darker color now. So I'm going to grab that original color and then I'm just going to push it down so I have a deeper red. And I kind of want to put a little bit of like a maroony, I don't know, a burgundy. That's fun. Go to the layer that I'm going to put my shadows on. I have my airbrush selected already. I just want to double check, hey, I'm on the right layer. And then I'm going to add my shadow. So I'm actually going to put it in a strange place. Usually I go opposite of where I put a highlight, but I actually want to bring it in right here toward the upper left. Oh wait, I need to go on the right layer now. This isn't showing up the way that I want it to. And I think it's because my airbrush was too strong on the edge right here. So I'm just going to see what it would be like if I swapped the two. I don't like that either. That's all right. I can go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep this shadow layer on top and then I'm going to go over with an even lighter highlight. So I'm moving my shadows to be on top, putting them in place. I'll go a little softer so the edges aren't as harsh. Here, just little friends. And then I'll go in with my final highlight. So I'm going to just do this. And I don't recommend doing it if you want to be able to edit it. This was so easy because it was just a quick airbrush that I feel like, okay, if I lose that work, it's no big deal. But I, again, am mindful of space on your layers panel. So I'm going to merge these together. So I'm merging these just by pinching them together, merging these by pinching them together. They're still clipping masks, but now you can see there's two colors. That's because both the shadow and highlight are on the same thing now. No big deal. So I'm creating a new layer, flipping it, and then I'm grabbing the lightest highlight I have, and I'm going to even bump that up higher. And I might make that a little bit smaller. Well, I think instead of going smaller, I'm just going to go off the edge more. So that's going to make it a longer period of softness. So see how I'm starting at the bottom? I'm not even on it yet. So I'm kind of just, I'm going to make this lighter so you can see it better as it comes in. So you can kind of start to see the glow come in. If this was even larger on my brush size, see how it just kind of comes in and it's really soft and has that like more of a, what's it called? Gradation, ombre. I know it doesn't have that tongue roll. Don't tell anyone I did that. You can see as I added the darkness here that original brush that I used was really did not fill. So I'm just going to go back to that brush and go to the original layer. And I'm just going to add, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fill it more so that it grabs. Nothing will work unless it's that original layer. So if you do that to clipping mask, it's not going to matter because it knows those pixels are transparent. So like there's nothing there for it to grab. So just know that. Checking chat. Okay, let's see. Okay, Lauren, so you said you couldn't get more than 11 layers. So here's what we can do. Canvas dimensions. My canvas dimension. Oh, you're asking. Okay. So mine's 12 by 16, 300. And Elizabeth, yours is as well. And then if your iPad, it could be that it's not a pro, but it could also be storage. So there's a couple things we can do. We can resize the canvas. And what I would do is keep everything as is. go to your gallery, and then you can duplicate the canvas. So I'm going to swipe to the left and say duplicate, go into the new one. And then I'm going to select everything. Well, I'm going to wait and see, but else you want to resize as little as possible. But basically I'm going to make my canvas smaller. So if I go to my wrench tool, I go to canvas, crop and resize. I can go to settings, and then I can change the size of this. You can also, instead of using those brackets, drag it to where you want it to be. So if I wanted to okay, I'm just going to make this a lot smaller, you can go to your settings and see what you ended up doing. So 7:8, yeah, it's pretty small, but you're still at a 300 DPI. That's going to give you a good quality. And then you'll be able to, it should just show you, I guess, why doesn't it show you how many layers are available? Oh, here we go. So see how doing that, I had 27 layers available, but making it smaller, now I have 100 layers available. So if you know, okay, this is about the size I want it to be, you can drag that around. Sounds good. Let's do that. That gives me 74 layers. Press done. That way, the original artwork, you kept it. If you had any mistakes, just in case, but now you have a new canvas and you have a ton more layers to work with. So that's kind of just a little tip. Amy, you said you can't tap on the screen to select an existing color. I challenge you a different way. Try this little square on the left. If you hold that down and select, that might work. Or if you just tap that, you might see a color drop or a color grabber. You guys can control these settings. So if you go to your wrench tool and you go to, where is it? Preferences right here. And you go down to just your controls, that's going to show you how you can get all this. So your eyedropper is what you're looking for, Amy. So in just your controls, that's how you can decide how that toggles on. You can have it more than one way. You could have a delay, okay, if I touch that too long on accident, it won't trigger until this or whatever. So all those controls are in here. So that makes it, yeah, good. Okay, 34 layers is much better than 11. Yes, there will be a replay. Absolutely. Okay. So little tips and ways to navigate that. So I'm going to finish this highlight. And then after I'm done with this highlight, okay, so I'm above these 2 layers. I'm going to do a clipping mask here. I'm going to grab this yellow color and I'm just going to make sure I have an airbrush, and I don't. So I'm going to go back to that. Cool. And then I'm just going to apply that. But it's a smaller highlight than before. So I have kind of a sunset going on, which is pretty. It's not at all my style, but I will accept. Okay, there we go. That's a little better. I'm actually going to, on this last one, make it bigger so that it just has more of a soft blend. Cool. Yeah, no, that's too much. So I'm going to do that trick I showed you with the eraser where I want the airbrush as an eraser. So I'm going to hold that down. It snaps, it grabs the eraser that I want. It's too small. I'm going to make that bigger. So basically the same thing, but taking away some so that I can preserve the color I wanted. And I'm going to do that also to the, now this would be a great time to use a mask instead of, but I know that I want it to go away. So I'm not going to be too worried about it. Okay, that seems fine. That seems fine. Don't overthink that because we're about to do a lot more to it. Now, real quick, we're going to go real deep with it. So I'm going to merge those together again because I'm happy with them. And I don't want you guys to, Margaret, you're the best. I know what you mean. I live for replays. I think I have the last workshop memorized line for line. That's the best though, because then you get to really explore and you get to tackle it in different ways every time, which is really fun. I'm just merging the airbrush layers. That's it. I mean, I wouldn't usually, but again, layers, we need them. So I'm going to create a new one on top of that. And the reason I keep doing it this way is because that way, if I make a mistake on the new layer, on the new thing I'm doing, it doesn't affect anything else. And if I merge it when I'm happy with it, then cool. Okay, so I'm going to grab like almost a white, basically. And I'm going to make my airbrush a lot smaller. And I'm going to go to the other side now. What am I on? Okay, this small ones. And I want that even smaller. I'm just going to do like this pinpoint highlight. That's it. So see how that just makes it pop? Like it was so flat. And then all of a sudden you have this like really pretty like spot highlight. And then if you make your brush a little bit smaller after that, and then go in the very center of what you just did, it makes it pop even more. And another thing I like to do is come out on the outer edge and just slightly highlight that part too. I'm noticing that, okay, do you see? You might not see it because it's so close to white, but I actually see it on the outline here. That means that my clipping mask I didn't apply it. So see how I go to this. So if that was a different color, it'd be really obvious. You can apply clipping masks after the fact, no problem. Just go to that layer, tap it and say clipping mask. Now that part's gone. So easy fix. Just like to share because I know that there's always something that comes up where it's like, why isn't this working? And you think you did something, but it's like, oh, I should have checked. So I'm just kind of going to some parts of the outer edges just to give that dimension. So like right here, I'm going to just hit the top, barely though, like just the edge, not that much of it. And then you can see how it just kind of puts that dimension in, right? Super easy. I get rid of that part. I don't know why, it just really wants that corner. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing to the top. Go to the very top layer, create a new layer, make sure it's a clipping mask, come in, add that little pop of highlight, just a little guy, and then make that a little smaller, concentrate it in the middle a little more just so it pops even more. This one's a little harsh for me, so I'm going to start that one over just so it's softer. Don't go in heavy-handed with the airbrush because you want that nice transition, unless you don't, in which case, great. Okay, that's a little meh to me, but I'm going to show you another trick. So I see that hard line right here. I'm not going to keep it this way, but let's say you're like, okay, well, everything else worked out in my favor except for this one thing. So you can blur it. If I go to my magic wand tool, I can go to Gaussian blur. I don't care if that's not how you say it. And you'll see percentage up at the top here, Gaussian blur 0%. When I set my pencil down and drag it, it will start to apply. And it's going to apply only to the layer I'm on, which is just this. So watch this blur as I pull it up. So see how that blurs and blurs and blurs. You can do that. So I think I actually will just bump it a little bit to where that harsh line goes away and then call it good. I don't love blur because I love texture. And so I stay away from it, but it is an option. So I like to give an option. Okay, now we're going to do one more deeper shadow. I'll just do, I know we're on our layer situation. Okay, if you think you're happy, I don't want to mess with this one just yet. So I'm going to do a new layer. I'm going to clip it to everything else on top. This is my top one. I'm not going to black because I know that seems like, oh, well, my, dark is black. It doesn't have to be. So I'm just going to hit this dark plum color again, but I'm going to have my airbrush nice and small because I'm getting less of a, less coverage than before. And so see how it's dark right here? I'm just going to do the same thing, but to the edge. And I think that's good. I say start further out than in, and you'll start to kind of see it come in, and that's going to help a lot guide you. And then this one, I think I want a little bit right here, but I want most of that to be highlighted, I think. We'll see how we feel. I think I'll do it to the very bottom, and then I'll put a highlight just above it. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Now, one of the reasons why it was really helpful for me to have these multiple layers is because when I add this depth down here, it's not affecting this part. So like I can color all over this area, do what I need to do to this one and not worry about that one being affected. So that is really, really helpful. Oh, however, I don't want it to go that far over because I don't want the whole thing to be outlined. It would just be a little too much. So I'm going to bring that down just a little on top right here. And then you can see how that's starting to look real 3D and fun. Get rid of this part. Okay. And then I'll do the same thing to these two. So I will go down to, this is that main layer. I see clip, clip, and then that's the other one. So again, if you like to group your layers, it will be helpful. I know I'm talking really fast, you guys. I just know we only have 90 minutes and I want to get through this and have you guys like actually be able to walk away with a project. So yes, please watch the replay. There are hot tips left and right, but I like to sponge people, be sponges. Okay. So I created that new layer on top. I'm going to clip that again and we can start to merge these in just a minute. I just want to make sure we're happy, right? Okay. So I'm going to go to this one, add that depth, and you're going to think I'm crazy because after this, we're going to end up adding a highlight right there, but it's all for a good reason. It all makes sense. Like you can see how when we added those initial highlights, it didn't have this pop that it has now. So all of these layers have proven to have meaning as to why it matters. So like if you guys have your video turned on, which it is by default, if you go to your settings and you go to video and you go to time-lapse replay, you can watch everything that you just did in like such a little amount of time. And you'll see how this flat situation just transforms like boom, 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 boom. Look at this, like in no time. And suddenly we're looking more 3D. It's crazy. So neat little trick. Okay, so I want to do this now to the stems because we need that too. So now's a good time to, if you're happy, you have to be happy with it. You're married to this decision now. And if you don't want to be married to it, you can go to gallery. You can duplicate and then open the new one and then merge them. We're working indestructively here. So all I'm merging are the clipping masks so that my original shape is still flat because I want it to, I mean, I could merge these together and see how it's just going to create, now this whole thing is just one flat thing. It's just this, but I just like to keep the integrity as long as I can. Okay. So now, I am going to, this layer mask might throw you off, but don't let it. Just know that if I have layer, if I clicked this thinking I'm clicking that main layer, it's not, it's the layer mask. The lighter blue is the one that is selected. It's going to select both of them automatically. But if I select layer 5, then I'll be able to actually do something with the layer rather than hide or reveal it. If I do a layer on top of it, see how it skipped layer mask here, and then I can clip and it will clip to the correct one, just to answer that in case you had everything, you know, anything, any confusing anything's come up in your head. So I made a layer or a clipping mask on top of that one. If you're happy with your composition and you know that like you definitely don't want to move anything, you can get rid of the layer mask just by pinching them together. And then it's just going to, it's going to act like it erased it. So now I can't bring, I can't bring that back. I mean, unless I press undo, but you know, once you're a certain amount in on a project, you're not going to want to have to press undo a million times and lose all your work. So just know that, but if you're happy with it, you can just merge it together and then have that standalone so that it's just easier. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing to the stems that we just did to the tops. I'm going to grab this color and I'm going to grab something a little darker. I might change up the, the hue a little bit. I'm going to grab something to drink real fast. Okay, I think I like that. I'll go back to my airbrush. I'm going to make this pretty small. And I'm actually going to go inside. So Let's see how this works. Yeah, so I'm going real light. I'm pressing really light because I want to keep that soft edge. And it's not going to look quite right off the bat, and that's okay. And then I'm going to come on this side. Oh, see, I'm not in a clipping mask. Do you see how that's happening? So if I go back, oh, and then I discover that I am actually drawing directly on that layer, which I do not want. Okay, let's try that again. See, Margaret, all the time. Okay, so I'm going to my clipping mask now, and I'll go right here, which is not a clipping mask. Oh, because I'm still on the wrong. What is my deal? There we go. Okay. It's fine. You guys know the struggle. Okay, so I'm basically just doing this light on the edge, and then I'm going to do a little part just inside, kind of like acting like an indent. And it's real soft. Like it almost looks like you're not doing anything when you're doing it, but then when you like zoom out, you can totally see it. So it's actually too much. I want to do it a little bit smaller than that, like this. It's like layers of paint. Like you just don't add that much. Don't worry about the bottoms yet. I mean, you could add a little bit, but we're going to be kind of covering that with some grasses if we have time. Gosh, I better speed up. Oh, I look to see the chat, to look at the chat, and now would be a good time to insert ads. Oh my goodness. Okay, no more Hot Pockets. We're gonna do that to these ones too. Go to that layer, create a new layer, select it, clipping mask, and I'm fine with the same color for now. I'll show you a little trick of what you can do. I'm gonna make this really small, and I'm going to hit the edge and then hit just underneath it. And then I'm going to just kind of create a curve and see if this is something that will be good or not be good. Just a little bit of movement, kind of down and to the left and to the right a little bit. That's too dark. There we go. And then maybe right here. So it's not, I mean, it's not going to look quite right until you get to those final points, which you know about. Here. Okay. And then what I want to do is really highlight, I guess not highlight, I really want to deepen the areas that are underneath the ring. Fancy, I know words. So do you see how that kind of has like a double layering? It's what we did with the highlight. So you could do this where you kind of create it big. It's like a full sweep, basically. You're not really doing much other than a sweep. You're making it smaller and you're just concentrating a little bit deeper with a little more pressure. And you could do this, if it's not getting darker, you can just go in and grab a little bit of a darker color and deepen that. That's a little too, it looks too dark in comparison to everything, but I'm not done building that out yet, so I'm fine with it. So that's just a little way to pop that in. And then I'm going to go to this layer again. It's going to be hard to navigate eventually, but I see it here. And then I'll push that in here too. I want to show you that little hack if you are starting to get confused about what layer you're on. So I have this turned on from gestures. So you saw where that was, your wrench, your canvas, your, no, not canvas. Okay, let's start over. Wrench, preferences, gesture controls, and one of my favorite things is layer select. It's toward the bottom on the left. And then I have it set up to where if I press that little square in between the two sliders on the left and my Apple Pencil, it's called layer select. So you can change this to whatever you want. I'm wondering if that was maybe what you were seeing, Amy, because I think it might have been layer select instead. I don't know how the tradition, like how the standard settings are, but basically what that is, layer select. So I'm on this layer right now, but I want to be on this layer. I have too much going on for me to concentrate. So this is like a quick hack. I'm going to hold this down and I'm going to take my Apple Pencil. And do you see now 2 layers came up and I can select which one I'm going for. Okay, I want the shading one where I just hit. It's the easiest, quickest, nicest tip to be able to just go where you want to go without having to feel so frustrated by, I mean, if you're organized, great, but I would say by lack of organization. I'm going to deepen this and make it a little bit bigger now. So basically what I did earlier was, I think I want that to be darker because it's in the background maybe. I don't know yet. But what I don't want is for this to happen where anything gets lost. And so that's where I determine, well, what do I want lighter and what do I want darker? So if I go to this layer, I can push that in just on the edge. Doesn't even really have to be super far in as long as it's defined enough. And when you start to add that, that depth to the edge and the highlights to the edge and that kind of stuff, that's where it starts to look a lot more 3D. We're not doing a 3D style. That is not my jam, but it does start looking a lot more like it pops out at you, like how this happened, which is pretty cool. But you have to have that balance of highlights and of shadows. So it can't just be like, oh, I put edges on. I mean, it could, because stylistically, like as artists, we can do whatever we want, which is the beauty of it. But, you know, to get certain effects or certain results, it's nice to be able to have that control, or like know what it is that we want to do in order to get what our results that we're seeking are. If I'm just talking in circles, but I think you understand what I mean. Okay, that's good for now on that, but I have to get the rings. So I'm going to go there. This is all on one layer. It's going to be easy. So I'm going to create a new layer, go figure, and clip it to the rings. I'm going to select that color and just go a little darker, not crazy. And then I want to make these, I'm going to do the same thing where I have a shadow coming from underneath. It's too big, I think. Underneath the main cap. And see how that was pretty harsh? I love a harsh line for shadows, but it's not everybody's style. And so you could make that smoother if you wanted to, just by increasing the size of the airbrush, and it'll be softer, or just by lifting the pressure so it's not as much. You could also do it by, if you want to have like, okay, clearly there's a light source and that's an obvious shadow that's happening, but maybe you don't want it to be like, you know, this color and then this color. Keep it as this, but then go in just a little bit darker and then make the part that's just above it a little bit softer. So it has depth, kind of almost like where there's, you know, when there's 2 light sources and you kind of see 2 shadows. You could also blend it more, but there's just like options that you can do with that to make it stand out more. Here's something I noticed. Okay, so the only thing on this layer is my shadow on my rings. This is great because I don't like how it's pretty gray, and I want it to be more brown. And this is probably my favorite thing that I share with everybody. If you're coming to boot camp, we are going to be doing this a lot. But it's another thing in gestures that you have to return on. So if you have access to, actually, no, you can do this anyway with quick menu. So what quick menu is basically how you turn it on will be different from how I turn it on, but it looks like this. And all of these can be programmed. I don't use it for anything except for recolor. Recolor used to be a lot more accessible, like as far as where to find it in controls. And then it disappeared one day and everyone panicked. And then we discovered that it didn't actually disappear. And it was in fact still here. And we found it from quick menu. So when you go to quick menu and you, whoops, I didn't want to do that. Go to quick menu and hold one of these down, you'll find it in the list, recolor. So I'm going to show you I'm going to show you a simple example before I show you this one so that you can really see its magic. So let's say I wanted to recolor that shape. I'm going to select or like toggle on my quick, or what is it called? Quick menu, go to recolor. It's going to have this little cross, like looks like a plus sign. And I'm going to drag that over to what I want recolored. Just like how the color threshold has that range, there's a flood right here that has a range for recolor. What's happening right now is that I'm recoloring in live time. So rather than going and dragging and dropping a whole bunch of colors to find a new color, or rather than just playing with like my brightness, hue, saturation, I can do literally anything on my color palette and it will respond immediately. So I can see exactly what I want when I want. It's not just playing with brightness. It's not just playing, you know, all that. And it is a game changer for anyone who likes to play with color or change things. So you're welcome. And I'm going to go back to my shadows on my rings. I'm going to invoke the recolor tool. See how it just grabbed everything outside of that? So I want to put it on top of the shading. And it's so sensitive that it will grab, you know, the part that I want as the primary of that color. And I'm going to switch this around and try this again and hope that we can continue our fun. I have never had this happen before, but we're rolling with it. We are in it. I'm just going to keep going because I don't want to keep watching the screen and then making you wait another 40 seconds. Cool. Flamingo. Thank you. Got it. If that just told you how long the delay is, yeah, that's fun. Okay. So real quick, before we keep going in, I'm going to just finish some quick details on this little guy just by adding in some like little, I don't know, divots, creases. And then go in way, way, way smaller with just a little bit deeper and add like little tiny lines. I don't want this to be something that is actual outlines, but it's like enough to where it's differentiating. Dogs, no cats, zebras, horse. Where will the replay be available? It'll be right here. Right here and in circle, you'll see it there too. But yep. And then I'm getting the outlines here. And we are actually right on time. So luckily we got through the main like key stuff. And now we're just going to do like all the stuff that really brings it to life. So if you can hang for 15, 20 more, we're going on a party. Okay. So I'm adding a little shadow here because of the overhang. I don't want it to be that intense. I'm going to take a little bit of it away. Not that much. Okay. I'm not going to perfect this because I want to get through it with you guys. I am going to, so you might have that poll where you're like, oh, this is too harsh. Don't make it not as harsh to the point where it doesn't have that pop anymore, because that's really part of what brings it to life. What I like to do now is I like to go in and add the texture to just, I don't know. I don't love smooth. Oh, real quick. I want to add highlight to this part. So I'm basically going to white, just kind of an off-white, making that a little smaller. And I'm going to highlight along the edge here before I end up doing the next thing that we're going to do, the texture. Am I not on the right thing? I'm not. I'm on the rings. There we go. All the time. Okay, so there's a little highlight, and then that will make more sense also when we get into highlighting. It's like basically fine highlights, which are really fun, and that makes everything pop. Okay, speed time. We got this. So what was I doing? I was doing, texture. Okay. So I smushed everything that I was cool to smush. I have a new layer here. I'm gonna do a clipping mask. I'm on this main part here. And when it comes to texture, there are textures here for sure. If you grabbed my pack that I gave everyone in the mini course, you're gonna have Peggy's faves, and I would choose something like cabinet dust or vintage. And I'll just show you kind of what that'll look like. So if I wanted to add some texture here, maybe something a little deeper, well, yeah, that would be good. You can see it'll just kind of add, you know, just a little bit of like speckle, but just enough to bring it to life. And you can do this with any brushes that you find in Procreate, like anything that just adds a little noise. So it doesn't, I mean, I know I said that I'm using everything that Procreate has, but I also gave these to you in the free mini course, so you can grab them. If you don't have them yet, just make sure to join in there and you can grab them. But so that's one of the ways that I like to kind of blend these. Oops, not on the right thing. Blend these together to where like the part that is shaded kind of blends into the next part. So that's one way to just make it look less harsh and make it look like it has more personality and it's not so like smooth. Smooth is great. Don't get me wrong. It's just like not my thing. So when we're done with this, I am going to rough this thing up like you wouldn't believe. But ask and you shall receive. And so that is why I am not going crazy with the texture tonight. Okay, so I'm on a texture erase brush, which means, am I even on the right layer? Yeah, okay. Now I want to start adding like your like really strong emphasis on, I know, isn't it crazy how it comes alive on everything else. So I'll just merge that together. It's just a little texture. I'll merge the, oh, it looks like I just put that directly on it anyway. And I will apply some texture to this really quick so that I have it in there. Just a little bit though, so it's not going to make anybody have a panic attack. Listen, I don't joke around about stuff like that, but I am one who suffered from panic attacks for years. Like it was no joke. It's like on my record, it's a whole thing, acute panic disorder. So I just, not to excuse myself, but I don't mean any harm is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so see how I'm just like basically adding the texture. Okay, I'm not going to do too much, don't worry. I will when you're not looking, but right now I won't. Just to where it brings a little more depth in without even really having to try. And I think that's so fun. And it's interesting, right? Okay, I'll stop. I'll put some more in later. Don't look, you don't see the texture, okay? Some of you like the texture and I appreciate it. All right, so not last, we're gonna do like a sketchy outlining. We're gonna do dark and we're gonna do light. So pick a brown and go back to your 6B pencil. Where is it? Take another drink. And then I'm just gonna create a new layer. It's not gonna clip to anything, just a totally new layer. I'm gonna get pretty small here, just test it, maybe in smaller, and I want it to be richer. So I'm going to pull saturation up and go a little darker. Let's see. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of very loosely go along. Where am I? Okay. Go along the edges. And this is a really thin brush and I'm going kind of quickly. So I'm not doing like a traditional outline that's like, woo, no. I just want this to be emphasizing just, you know, some like textured areas just to bring it some movement and some depth, and that's going to complement the shadows without detracting from it. So the outline, I don't love doing outlines, but it's just going to help with this particular project. Sometimes I like them, just, you know, it just depends. And I'm going to kind of like fade off toward the bottom because I have other plans for the bottom. And so see how it's just like gestural. It's very quick. It's like a sketch style. And I'm just bringing this down and making some like wavy, kind of scribbly kind of lines, and I'm coming up and then back down, and that's just giving it a little more personality. I might drag a little bit of that upward, but not so much where I'm doing like line detail or line work, you know? Okay, and then this one. There we go. And then I like to kind of really dig into the parts that are like, they look like indents, because I think that, I don't know, something about like a rip in a petal or something like that, I just think is really pretty and really fun. If you do like line drawing, one of the things that you can do is like, you know, hatching along underneath those areas to emphasize them more too. I'm like, no, we're not going to do any of that. And here I go into it. It's fine. I like it. I'm keeping it. I just get real crazy with like the mark making and the texture. Okay, but see how like even just that from a distance, it looks unfinished to you when you're doing it, but from a distance, it makes a huge difference. So I'm going to show you, like, I haven't done anything to the top yet, but just the stems, I turn it off and then I turn it back on. It's something really subtle, but it's just enough to be like, oh, pop, cool. And I'm going to just add a little bit, well, just a little bit right here. And then I can also go in a little darker with a shadow if I feel like it. I'm gonna do the top here just a smidge, but not too much. So basically it's just deepening the shadow that's already there with just like an edge, but it's not going around the whole thing. And then I'm gonna switch to a lighter one. So I'm gonna take a new layer on top of that. You can do the same layer, it's not a big deal. And then I'm going to go to not white, but just almost white, like a cream. And I'm going to go to this part of it, and I'm going to just outline the bottom here. Maybe scribble the bottom here. And I'm still on my 6B. Yeah. And you can do this with shading too, like with your airbrush. But I just think it's fun to have like that line of highlight, something you wouldn't really think to do. And then you do it and you're like, oh, well, that's kind of fun. And I actually did this on accident once or a lot of times you know how I had that sketch layer at first? Well, what I ended up doing was drawing underneath it. So I had my sketch layer on top, and then ended up, but I wanted to still see what I was doing. So the sketch layer kind of okay, real quick, look at that little pop of like, okay, watch. So if I just go in between like the outline that I just did and then the top, and it's just really mild, it's like so not noticeable, but it just like gives it that highlighted edge so that you can just see the dimension. It's just, you know, little tricks. But anyway, I did by sketching. So I had my regular sketch, and then I did the color underneath, and I just didn't get rid of the sketch layer forever. And I really liked how it looked. It kind of reminded me of like the old, you know, animation, like the 2D animation where you'd start to go through all of the, you know, the flip through. It was just cool. I liked it. Okay, so just little line highlights, just little tiny things like that. Okay, lastly, okay, second to lastly, I'm gonna do my little dots all over the top of the mushroom. So I'm using the 6B still. I made my brush a little bit bigger, and I can do these where they are really small. And I don't like to do them too perfect. You can, absolutely. This is illustrating, so you can illustrate however you choose. I like to do them bigger toward the top and then smaller toward the bottom, personal pref. And I like to cluster them in some areas and then keep them kind of separate in others. You could create more like interest, like by doing scribbly types of things, like toward any certain area, and then go a lot larger. But I know it seems all crazy, but then when you make it small, look how cool it looks. Okay, right? Look, boom, boom, that easy. Now you guys have all of the knowledge on how to add shading. So if you wanted to, you could follow this up by making these look more three-dimensional. It's not funny. I was just thinking like 3D, but I don't know. Okay, that's too spread out, and I want to get rid of some of that cluster. So I'm just going to select it and drag it off, call it good. And then just create little concentrated clusters. I don't like it when things are too evenly spread, personally. So what you can do with this is go in with just a slightly darker color and just kind of go underneath some of these or all of them and see how it just adds a little more dimension. If I go even darker, some of these areas will need it to be darker, especially like here. And go darker than that and see how it just like looks like it's a drop shadow kind of, and it just adds that extra dimension that's really quick and easy to do. But you need to grab, basically it's tricky because, oh no, you know what? I'll show you a better way to do this. Not better, just different. I'm going to leave what I have, but I'll show you. So if I was to go underneath this layer, so I'll create a new layer, drag this one underneath it. I'm just going to go to black, and then I'm just going to add a bunch of little dots. They're underneath some, they don't have to be under everything, but just, you know, a few just to kind of say hello. This is going to help because then you don't have to grab different colors all the time. We're going to do a blend mode. Is the other thing I wanted to show you. So to do a blend mode, what that means is we're going to do it to where it grabs the color underneath it in a way that complements it across the board instead of having to grab individuals. So everything's fine the way it is, but I'm going to change where it says N right here. I'm going to grab this N and I'm going to go. I like to do darken or multiply whenever I do something that deepens. So if I go down to multiply and then I drag the opacity down, see how it's grabbing like all the different colors. If I go to darken, it's like similar, but they all play a little bit of a different part. So I would say it's worth, you know, just playing around with. Now, if I did red, like a dark red, that's going to make things change when you apply different things. So like color burn, see what color burn, color burn. So it just like made it really pop in certain areas. Some people might really love that, or like darker color. This one I like even better because it's pulling that dark red in. There's just different ways that you can make that work to your benefit. So I'm just going to keep that as is because I like it. But look at how much dimension it has now. It's wild. So you can do the same thing with highlights where like I could go in and grab that. I'm just using a white, but just little, like one little dot basically on some of the tips of those. And then look at it, just brings that even more to life. I'm going to leave this one alone because I don't want to make you guys sit here longer than you need to. And then the last thing that I want to show you is just a little shrub at the bottom. So if you want to merge anything together, you can. If you're happy with how this looks, cool, you can squash everything. I'm keeping it alive and happy and well. I have a new layer. I'm actually, you know what I'm going to do to make things cleaner for everyone else is I'm going to group everything here so that it just groups and compresses, and now I don't have to see it, and I'm just working on this new stuff. So I'm just going to add a little shrub, and I'm going to grab a green. I go to my green over here, and I like to stick more to the left than to the right. I know it seems weird because it's like, oh, but my green's over here, but muted tones. Like we tend to get too saturated a lot when we have freedom in a color palette. So just remember that. And then I'll keep on 6B, and I'm just going to scribble, just some scribbles. And then after my scribbles, I am going to I want to fill that in a little bit because I want them to have, I want them to be full. I just want the edges to be what is has all the interest. So I scribbled, I did a great job with my scribble project. And now I'm going to take just the tip of my brush, the tip of my stylus, my Apple Pencil, and I'm going to just make it a little more piecey. So it's not like so just blobs. Again, this is like a personal preference. You can have blobs all day and that's cool because that's, illustration style. Okay, I'm doing this way too fast. It's not really what I love, but it's gonna get the point across, and that's what I wanted to do. Maybe some out here. Seems fine. Okay, so from here, I have, you know what? I like this actually. I'll keep it. I was gonna say, starting with a lighter color. Oh, you even see it lighter on the screen than it is to me, so that's perfect. I like to start with a lighter color, and I forgot. But whatever, I could recolor that if I wanted to. So I'm going to go on top of that, and I'm going to take the same brush that I'm using, and now I'm going to go darker. So I'm going to pull this down. If I want to change the hue, I can, like maybe I'll make it a little more blue, and I'm going to add a clipping mask. So that new layer is a clipping mask, and I'm going to bring this up, and I'm just going to kind of speckle in. And you can use like brushes to do this, like brushes that will actually make this effect, but you can also just do mark making. And this is just like a technique. You can add this however you want. I would usually just use a texture brush, but this is also nice because it's more imperfect, like it's not as uniform. I think I'm going so hard that the phone is shaking. Okay, there we go. I didn't bring it up. So it's mostly like concentrated toward the base. I'm going to go one more time, not even going to bother with a new layer, and I'm just going to deepen the very, very base of it, just in a few places, not too much. Okay, now I'm going to go on a new layer, do a clipping mask, not merge down, new layer, clipping mask, and then select that first color I had. And then off of that, go a little lighter, and I'm going to turn it toward the yellowy green more now. And then not as much as I just did, but same idea. I'm going to sprinkle that in kind of the middle to the top a little bit. It's lighter. I'm not pressing as hard because these are like more accents of highlights. And then I'm going to do it one more time, just a little bit lighter toward the very top. And just like that, like it seems like nothing. It seems like a big smushy mess, and it is, but it's just a compliment to the mushrooms that you just did. So when I make that smaller, boom, you got your grassy mound. Sorry for that rush, but it is also helpful because wanted to give you a little extra something before I let you go. Quick tip. Let's say I really had fun, but I want to be done and I don't want to work on this for another second. No problem. I got you. You want to complete that mushroom in 2 seconds? Let's do it. So I'm going to go down to what I just created here. I'll merge these two together. So my shadows and highlights. Oh, no. No. Why is this? Oh, because this is on multiply. That is why. Okay. That's fine. What can I do here? Okay, I'm going to unmultiply it and see what happens. Where am I? Here we go. Oh, it's fine because it's going to do this. No, never mind. Basically, okay, I'm going to merge those two together and I'm going to duplicate it. No, I'm not going to duplicate it. I'm going to select it and copy a portion of it. So one more trick and then we'll be done. So I'm on that layer. I go to select. I'm just going to select this top one. And down here, it says copy and paste, And then I'm going to take this arrow. And now I have it on a separate layer and I'm going to flip it. So I can flip it horizontally and then I can shrink it and tilt it. And notice I am not letting go of this until it is in place, because the more that you move things around and shrink them, the more pixelated they get. If I move something once, no big deal. I'll let that go there, and then I'll just clean up the stuff I don't want by doing a selection of it. I think I want. And then this I can get rid of right here, drag that off, and look at that, I am done. Little tips and tricks, and you would never know it's a repeat. I'm going to bring my face back real quick because I'm going to give you guys a proper good day. To conclude, the replay will be up right here. You don't need to go anywhere else. It'll just be here when you log in. So I will see you hopefully in the morning, and I'll talk to you all so soon. Bye.